Hey, how's it going, everybody? So today we're going to do round two of these sped up videos during some streams. Just to cover in the beginning here the intent of this. Back in the day, we used to do really sped up drawing or videos on the channel, and sadly, because of the type of work I'm doing now, which is just pretty much Jessup King and the odd commission, everything's like streams, like hour-long streams. And I know a lot of you guys and girls, you guys can't sit through that stuff. So, or maybe can't, you just won't. And you shouldn't have to, right? But if you do watch them, thank you so much. But I want to start doing this if I can, picking up little pieces of the stream and just speeding up the video and kind of just doing a narration over top of it. It's very similar to what we used to do before, but that's you guys let me know how you like it. If you don't, if you whatever, and I'm trying to get these under around 10 minutes or so, like so it's nice and condensed. It's not like how we're used to doing these recordings, right? But we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so today what I had done during this stream was a good, or I'll say a fellow person, a fellow fan, I guess, who comes into the streams all the time, Monochrome Moose. I'm just using the alias there in case he doesn't want his name put out there. He hooked me up with a beautiful gift. It's a 1080p Logitech webcam, and I don't know if it's being a Canadian or what, but I feel bad when I just get things for free, so I had to hook them up. So I wanted to give them some prints that I've already got those done. I just have to put them in a box and ship them. But like I wanted like a custom piece of art as well. So what I ended up doing was this right here, and this is Spider-Gwen. And initially, actually, you know what? I'll keep the video going here, so at least there's something going on, and I'll be just talking over top of it here. But initially what had happened was when I do these things, I do like the tight line art, like you can see right there in Manga Studio or Clip Studio, whatever, and I print it out. And actually, let me go back because I want to show that. I print it out on Bristol and then I ink over top of it. Okay, from here I would ink. The problem is once I did that, I realized that I don't have any ink in my printer, so I was screwed. Either I was going to go spend money to get some ink, or we're going traditional. We're going back to, you can see behind my hand here, right there, that's the Huion light pad, okay? I think it's the A3 size. And what I did there, if I just go back a little bit here, I just want to show you, see if I can find it. What I did is I take that 11 by 17 picture that I drew in Manga Studio, okay? And I divide the image in half so that when I print this out on my regular printer, which only prints at 8.5 by 11, if you print them out, cut a little piece of trim. Oh, that's a little blur fest. You see where my finger's pointing? You just make you just cut like a little strip off that, and then you put some masking tape on the back, and now you got an 11 by 17. I highly recommend doing this for all my traditional friends, even if you can just find a way to do your roughs or digital layouts, like I mean super rough. Print them out, tape like what I just did there. That will save you guys so much time. Personally, in my opinion, if you're able to do that, it'll save you so much time going forward, because then you can do the next step we're going to do here, which is just lightbox, and then you can kind of do like either tight final pencils, or you can do like just carry over your sketchy lines onto like some 11 by 17 Bristol to do your comic book pages, right? So, what else did I want to say? That I do have an older video. You guys can search my channel to find out where I show this actually happening in action, like the rough version of the print and like how I transfer it. But here, what you can see is I got the light box going, and the lines are already tight and finished. So I figured instead of doing all the work of the pencil work again, I'm just going to grab a Micron, and this was my first actual like legit inking of a design or an illustration right onto Bristol from like I'll say a rough, but it's not a rough. The line's already finished, right? So all I need to do is, in essence, trace them with some analog tools here, which is what I'm doing here. And I was having a good time with the stream. A lot of people were interested in all this. The workflow basically goes from here, and then we go ahead and we do ink wash, and that should be pretty fun to watch. And then after that, we're just putting up some final inks over top, and you'll see how it goes. This whole method here, and the reason why I do this, guys, and I just want to reiterate this here, because I think it's kind of, it's important. It's not so important that it's the weight of the video, but it is important to just understand the why of what I do here, okay? So you guys all know I always talk about the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics. Recommend you guys buy it. Go to the library, see if you can get a free copy. Do whatever you can just to look at it. You might get some value from it, okay? Now, the reason I bring that up is because my basic whole ideology of creating art nowadays is pretty much from that book. Everything Freddie talks about in there, I finally just conceded and go, you know what, and went, you know what, I'm just going to follow what he's doing, because I noticed for myself I was getting a lot of gains from it, like speed and other things like that. But the trick, and this was a really hard part, is when I would digitally ink, my artwork would, I would think, personally myself, look better, because I can always undo, I can paint in white, I can use like a crap load of brushes. I have tools available to me that I don't have traditionally, okay? And some people, and I actually received a couple emails like this, and this is going back a couple years, of people that wanted commissions from me. And of course I'm like, yeah, if I can fit it in, I'd love to do it. Love drawing pictures for people. And I would do it. And the thing is, what you're seeing me draw with right now, like the Micron, and I didn't do it with this inking, and you'll see going forward, but I use, some people use like a Pentel pocket brush, and I'm no good with that stuff, and I'm not making the time to learn traditional tools. For me, my basic workflow is digital. I'm happy. I'm super happy with it. But sometimes people like some original art, and that's where I was kind of getting lost, right? So what I would do is I would use the tools you're seeing now for the person's commissions. I would send it to them, and a couple people got back to me. And then like two actually broke my heart. It wasn't that the critique they gave me was bad. It was they kind of they like it. It was one of those sugar coated compliments where it's like they like it. The problem was they were kind of hoping it looked a little bit more like this, and it would be a different drawing that I had done totally digital. And I know the difference you're talking about. And it just started, it started in my head going like, it's not just for, like, I don't like misleading people, and that's not what the intent was at all for that. It was that if people are going to spend, hard-earned money on what I do, I don't like screwing people around. I don't like doing work if it's not going to be enjoyed. I don't like doing work if people, are going to feel bad for making the purchase or the decision to get it. And so what it all came down to was like, well, how do I change and how do I mirror like traditional and digital? And again, going back to the DC Comics guide, Freddie talks in there, and I've got an additional video on that you can watch of where what I did is I scanned in all my tools that I draw traditionally with, which you can see like these. I think these are Stedler markers. They're not microns, but it's like the same kind of thing. Tomato, whatever you like. It's the same kind of stuff. And I scanned them into 600 DPI, went to Manga Studio, and I made some cut. I tried to adjust brushes that were pretty similar to the digital tool, so that if people wanted commissions, the artwork's the same. The biggest change was I had to commit to working differently, because in digital, I can just carve out shapes, fill it with black, and looks like it's like heavily inked. And ever since JESOP King, I've kind of stopped doing that. I've just gone right into like some clean lines and let the shadow and the color, or not the shadow, but the color do the work. In this case, we're letting the gray wash do the work here, okay? So I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit. You guys get the point of what's going on here. So here you can see we're done. We're done light boxing. I grabbed a pencil, and the thing I wanted to bring up there was, so Spider-Gwen or Spider-Man, whoever you like to draw, whoever's got webbing on their costume, the lines that wrap around the form, like horizontally around the form, when I had first done the drawing, I felt like they didn't wrap enough. It actually flattened the artwork out, in my opinion. So here I did my best effort anyway to add and do this again to make it so that things fold and wrap. And you'll see it. Let me see if I can just skip a little bit here. You'll see when I start wrapping around, like around her arm there, like that. The other one I think looks a little bit better. You see how it's kind of rolling backwards a little bit? I didn't have that initially. You can go back to the beginning of the video if you care, and just to see that, and you can see I didn't, like, there was no point for it. So I had to readjust that. So I got that going, and I'm just going to skip ahead here. So what I use here, and I'm just showing, these are Sketch and Wash pencils, I believe. And then on the left there, you can see the blue things. Those are just basically watercolor brushes, I believe. In the bottom part, like right here, you just fill it with water, and it's a brush at the top, and you squeeze it to fill it with water. Now, this method, again, I feel like and I've even said it in the longer stream, which you can watch as well. I got that uploaded. But I talked about that, where it's like I look to Freddie Williams for a lot of things, because I feel he's one of the few artists that I've followed workflow wise, methodology wise, stuff like that. And he resonates with me in a lot of ways. And, if you can find artists that do that for you, stick around, and see and try to do what they do a little bit. Maybe it might speak to you differently and it'll be something that interesting to you, right? And so when I saw Freddie working with this, I believe he uses ink wash now, which is like, ink in a little like well and you can add water to dilute it to get it to, like, instead of going black, the more water you add, it starts to go into like a tone of gray. Um, and I saw him doing this, and what I liked about it was two things. One, it looks different than what I think a lot of people do when they're doing commissions, specifically at comic book conventions, okay? And I've also noticed that when I do this stuff for like commissions or, like sketches for people, that they tend to dig it because it's different, right? So I did that, and the second one was, for me anyway, I enjoy doing this more than like a Copic marker. Now, Copic marker it's different. It's a different workflow altogether. I understand that, right? But this is pretty cool. And the other thing is when you see somebody do this live, when I was at a couple shows last year doing this, and that was when I had my first big test to see, is this something that I could do over long term? So people, I don't know about you guys, but if you're ever fortunate enough to have a table, and some people just kind of hang out with you, and they order a commission, and the pressure's on, and you do your best, right? You're just having fun, you're just drawing, and you're drawing, and they'll see this, right? And I'll explain basically what I did to you guys, what's going to happen for the process, and they've already seen the final result on like other examples that I'll have at my booth. But I'll start doing this, and most people are just like, okay, cool, like you're doing some pencil shading and stuff, right? But once you get that watercolor brush out and you just start smearing the hell out of it, I don't know, like you just see people going like, holy hell, what is that? And that's, maybe it's a little, I don't want to say a tip, but something you guys can try. It's super cheap to get this stuff like that. But what's really awesome about it, honestly, is it gets people interested. And if other people around you start to get engaged, like they start asking questions, and they see that other people are going like kind of coming around you, going like, "Oh, what is that?" It encourages, potentially further patronage. You can get some people, hooking you up with some more cash and stuff. So anyway, we got that going. The gray wash is almost done here. Let's just zip forward a little bit. I think I'm just adding some more. Okay, we're about to get this. Okay, so we're zooming in a little bit more, just to see, so I can show you guys exactly, because this is really like, if you're too far back, it's fine. Right here I'm just drawing on myself. The reason for that is, like I said, you squeeze it to put water out of it, right? And I need to test it on my hand so I don't like put way too much water on the paper. This paper itself is not watercolor paper. This is just traditional 11 by 17 Bristol. Somebody asked during the stream what brand it was. I didn't want to tell them the brand. It's honestly like the cheapest, most generic comic book paper I could find. I don't like using expensive tools. I work digital, and that's as expensive as I need it to be. If I'm doing traditional stuff, I like to use some pretty ghetto tools and stuff like that. Like I told you guys, my sketchbooks are literally like 8.5 by 11 printer paper. You can get it like Staples in bulk. And then I bought a 3-hole punch, and I 3-hole punch that. Then I go over to the dollar store. I give them $1 to $2 to buy a 3-ring binder, and I just throw the paper in there, and that's my sketchbook. And I know not a lot of people don't like to work like that, but that's the beauty of being an artist: is do what works for you. Experiment a little bit. My mindset, do your best not to break the bank just to like use tools other people are using. This whole setup right here, probably under $30, to be honest with you. I got a whole box of like ink wash pencils, sketch and wash, I believe they're called. They won't be going anywhere. I might have to replace one of these. I have 2 of these watercolor brushes. I might have to replace one after a while. Like if the tips start dying out, I don't know. I haven't used them enough to really warrant it. And again, I'm just using Bristol. The paper does warp for sure. But I encourage people anyway, like if anybody's buying an original piece, I imagine in my head that they're going to frame it. And once it's framed, it's fine. Like it works. It doesn't, I'm not pouring water on this thing. Like there's a lot of water here, like all in her like thighs, like that's all shadow. All of that's got to get water on there. So there's like some bubbles that go in there a little bit, but it all works itself out. At least it's been like that in my case. So if you're even using like watercolor paper, or hell, even like legit, probably like money backed paper, like stuff that's like $50 for like a whole sheet of stuff, or like more, I'm curious to wonder if that actually affects this in a positive way. So anyway, you can see what's going on here. I'd like to use this. I was talking about it in the longer stream. I'd like to use this a little bit more just to get used to what's going on, because you can see like did you see that here? I'm just going to rewind it a little bit. As I go down her thigh, as I push the lead around, it starts to put like a dark line to the left. and that's when I said this during the stream. I like that, and it encourages me to keep going a little bit further with this workflow anyway, because I'm learning new things with it. This is letting me know that there's actually tools, like tricks to the tool that I'm not aware of just yet, right? So it's pretty cool. So let me just go a little bit further. I forget what we do here. Oh, okay, I flipped it back so it's the right side. So I know on this off camera there, I was like waving it around and stuff, trying to dry it off. And then another thing I will say too, I know I keep jumping around on you guys, but when I had initially done this, one thing that I was very mindful of, or tried to be very mindful of, was how long does this take to dry? Again, because if this is going at a convention, that's the main focus of what I'm doing here, is if this is for convention and I draw just an ink wash here and I have to wait like 20 minutes for it to dry, that's not good. To me, that's not good. I need people want their stuff and they want it now. I have them sit around for like a half hour to wait for a sketch. That's long. I try to get it under 15 minutes. That's just for me anyway. If they're asking me for like an 11 by 17 like this, then they know. Like I tell them that'll take a little bit longer, right? Because I still have to ink over top of this, and I've found anyway by working like this, where you get the sketch and wash or the gray wash, whatever you like to call it, on there first. When you put your inks over top, it holds better. If I ink this piece first and then started ink washing it, sometimes the stuff will get a little muddy. On the left here, I've got 3 little ink wells. This would be like legit ink wash, right? This is an L for light, medium, and dark. Again, I saw some Freddie Williams videos, and you know, if it works and if it's not broken, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel or fix it. I also said this year in that stream is one of the benefits of following one of your favorite artists or somebody who does a lot of stuff that you enjoy, like how they work, is and especially if they're a full-time artist, like in this case Freddie, he makes comic book and illustration full time. That's his gig, right? So by default, he puts way more time and hours into his craft than I do. You know, I have a day job at a video game company, but he's doing this and experimenting on this. So when I see people using stuff like this, or whatever artists you like, when you see them using tools, chances are they put more time into it than you have. So use that to your advantage. You know, they've done a lot of trial and error. I have to learn how to reuse these or learn these tools, period, and stuff, right? So it goes a little bit back and forth. So anyway, let's move it forward here. What are we doing here? We're just putting some outlines and some stuff. Still drying it out. Let's see if we're inking yet. All right, looks like we're about to bust out some inks. Yeah, still waiting for it to dry. Here's some shameless plugs. Okay, here we go. So these here, I believe they're Kuretake brush pens. I believe they are. I don't really like brush pens. I'm not skilled with them. Over time, of course, you get better at stuff the more you use it. But I'm not making time to learn this stuff. I'm comfortable with where I'm at. I like and I enjoy the creation process, so I'm not looking to experiment too much off of these tools. So the feel of this pen here feels honestly much more like a Micron that you can press, and it's got a little bit more of a flexible tip, but the brush, it's not like a brush pen. Like the tip doesn't like splinter off into fibers, you know? So it's basically like a marker with pressure sensitivity turned on for all my digital friends, okay? So this is what I would normally do, right? Like if you look at this is like the KO layer we make when we're doing our art. And then the next thing I do is I just there's a different one that's a little bit thinner, this one here, and now we're adding line weights. So I'm adding line weights to break up the contour layer. I'm just going to skip around here because I think we're pretty much done. I break out the Doctor Strange one too soon. I don't know what the hell's going on. I think I was waiting for it to dry. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting in shapes, adding some more lines, some details, all that cool stuff. All right. So just zip around here a little bit more. Just getting a little, like a super primitive background. I didn't want to, you know, the whole background, I'm not looking to create anything fancy. Here's a Doctor Strange one. Doesn't matter. Same kind of workflow. But anyway, that's about it, guys. I'm going to hit pause here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. How long has this been going for? Almost 20 minutes. So I'm 10 minutes over because I ramble way too much. But anyway, you guys let me know what you think. If you guys dig these videos, I appreciate it. If you're new to the channel and you liked what you saw, please consider liking, subscribing. And all of you others out there that have already liked and subscribed to the channel, thank you for watching. If you guys would like to be bros and dames, I guess. I don't, what do you call the ladies? Ladies? So all you bros and ladies out there, if you guys wouldn't mind subscribing, if you dug the content, that'd be great too. Share the word, that would be awesome. So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, you guys. Keep reading comics, keep making comics. I'll talk to you soon, and bye bye.